So, our first and only review of the day is going to be for the film Logan. Logan, which came out in 2017. So I do a review for this movie since Deadpool and Wolverine is out right now in theaters, making a gang of money. It's already going to. They say it's pretty much going to hit a billion after this weekend. It's going to hit a billion. So yeah, we decided to go back and look at some movies there. We put up a poll. We had 4 movies: Deadpool 1, 2, The Wolverine, and Logan up on that poll on Twitter.com/afternoon2. And if you wanted to vote on that poll of what we should be reviewing next, just follow us there on all the social medias. And with this movie, Logan, this is the 3rd film in the Wolverine trilogy, I guess you'd say, which started with X-Men Origins Wolverine, then which was The Wolverine, and then Logan there. And I've never seen a trilogy of movies go upwards. Usually it's always the other way around.
Yeah,
Usually it's down.
Especially improve with such quality.
Yeah, especially improved because X-Men Origins Wolverine, I think, is still the worst X-Men movie. I think by far. What would you say is the worst X-Men movie?
Maybe that, or I didn't see, but just from like the trailers alone, like the last Phoenix movie, not the Last Stand, but like the last one in general.
X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, with like where some of the actors didn't even know like the characters' names because they were just like rushed on set.
Yeah, that one's pretty terrible. How bland and kind of awful that one is, and they messed up the Dark Phoenix storyline again for the 2nd time after doing it after Last Stand.
I do have a soft spot for the original X-Men like trilogy of movies of like, but yeah, I don't think those are like, again, like superhero movies have improved like so much in a lot of respects that like it was just kind of like of the time in a way. Like there are like a lot of like early 2000s vibes to it.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what. And also, in case you hadn't seen Deadpool and Wolverine, we are going to kind of maybe dip into spoilers there with that because we're discussing it. If you haven't seen it, then maybe it's best to come back after you've seen the movie. So we are going to be then. Of course, we are going to spoil Logan. I mean, if you hadn't seen the movie yet, it's been out for 7 years.
Watch it. Yeah, if it's been out for over a year, spoilers free. Like, so I posted a clip of Sopranos and they're like, dude, spoilers. Like, it's been 20 years since this episode, so I don't care.
Yeah, so we are going to be kind of doing that there. So yeah, Logan is the 3rd film there and is the first R-rated film to come from Logan there because the other were PG-13. And you definitely feel that's a lot of people very excited to hear when this movie is ramping up to come out. It's like, oh, it's going to be finally going to be R-rated. So we actually get to see what he actually does with his claws instead of always cutting away. Which is a lot of what
robots.
Which is a lot of what The Wolverine did, which also was directed by the same guy, directed by James Mangold there.
Yeah.
Which I like The Wolverine. I thought The Wolverine's solid, but then the 3rd act is where it kind of falls apart.
Yeah, 3rd act is definitely weird.
But the train sequence is really good. I really love the train sequence there. There's something about superheroes and trains that are I don't know.
Yeah, I mean fights on top of trains. I mean. Archer from Archer kind of put it best of like all I want to do is fly on top of a train. Is that so much to ask?
Yeah. I mean, it's like that scene they're fighting on the bullet train, and then he's got his claws stuck in the train. He jumps up, like it's really very impressive if nobody's ever seen it. This is a little bit of it right here, but yeah. But this is a solid comic book movie. Just kind of falls apart. Kind of in the 3rd act with the whole he fights the Shredder at the end and is just kind of like
Also I totally forgot she was in the movie. Like even when I first watched the movie I was like shocked at her appearance, but not Man Viper. She's like I think she's like a Hydra agent in the comics. She's the Snake Lady.
Oh yes, her.
She is out of nowhere in this movie.
She just kind of her name is Viper. Yeah, just Viper there.
Just Viper.
Yeah, and that's the character's name, and she has a very Russian name that I won't try to pronounce. The actress. Do you know how to pronounce Russian names?
Yeah, but I'm trying to look. Oh, the character.
This is the actress right here.
Savaltia. Yeah, okay.
Savaltia Koldachevskia?
Koldachevskia, I think.
Koldachevskia? Okay. Very Russian name.
Yeah.
So she was the Viper in that. But so James Mangold, he came back again 4 years later, doing Logan here again. And this movie was met with much praise after it came out. Some people consider it one of the best comic book movies ever, top 10, I would say, for a lot of people. Where would you
Same there
say?
with mine. There's only a few superhero movies in general. I would say are it's kind of in like probably my top five.
Mm. And what would you say this would be in your top five?
Yeah, this would definitely be my top five. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, only a few movies I'd say is like kind of like on the same level
Mm.
of like
Okay.
probably like Spider Verse, maybe the Dark Knight, like Under the Red Hood, and one of the Guardians movies.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's yeah, this one is considered one of the kind of the best comic book movies that you have here. A lot of people highly praise this for, finally being R-rated and also for the tone of what it was kind of going. A very
Yeah,
dark, kind of very serious type movie here, what it's kind of going on.
it does.
Uh
Yeah, it definitely has the best benefit of like, because like I think it's the issue of like a lot of superhero movies now. Of like they feel the same because like most of them are just like action comedies. Logan, like ultimately, it's a Western movie. Uh, with like it's able to do like a lot darker, a lot drier stuff as opposed to just like I don't know. That's kind of an issue a lot of people have with like the MCU, and I can't really deny that. Like a lot of the genres kind of feel the same. They
mm,
never really go out of or do something different. It's mostly just like action comedy, action comedy, action comedy. Maybe just an action movie, but
Pretty much, yeah. That's kind of what it is. So this kind of was a very much breakup in kind of the superhero genre. I'll look at some other superhero movies that came out that year too that it was kind of competing up against there in 2017. So what is Logan 2017 about here? Well, it takes a little bit of inspiration from the Old Man Logan comic. If people remember that comic, it was. Have you ever read that comic?
I have the comic. It takes like a lot of the I think very smartly it takes a lot of like the surface level appeal of like the Logan comic, but like it takes a lot more inspiration from Daphne King's story, not Daphne King, Laura Kinney's origin, X-23. And I remember even James, he even said like this is ultimately X-23's like origin story or her run initially, just a bit slightly altered than anything else because uh, there is definitely some elements for the old man, like Wolverine's story of uh, like of course he's got the slowing like healing factor. He's got like gray in his hair. He doesn't. He's not as strong as he was when he was younger, and like there was the implication of like the the U.S. like country kind of got like there something happened which like led to like a lot more volatile like people and placement and like this place like death of mutants. But like yeah, I mean, Old Man Logan starts as you see here. It starts with the fucking incestuous Hulk gang who threaten Logan's family, and yeah, in this the Hulk is he's like a southern like redneck like bandit who like forces children with She Hulk in order to create like an army of like mutated children. So it's a
Uh,
very weird story.
yeah, I forgot. Did who did this? It was what Miller?
Miller,
Mark
I
Miller.
think.
Yeah, I think it was Mark Miller who did Old Man Logan, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see real quick. But if people remember, so in the story of the comic Old Man Logan, it was that it was a distant future. The X Men are dead. A lot of the other heroes are dead because basically the supervillains came up with a grand plan to take out all the heroes at once. And with the X Men, their plan was Mysterio went in, tricked Logan into thinking the X Mansion was being attacked, and then Logan went into Berserk mode, which is
Yeah.
basically a mode that he can't be reached even by Professor X telepathically, and then he killed all of the X Men there. And then ever since then, he's basically resigned a life of solace. He, hasn't drawn his claws out. He's just, living out there his days. But like I said, most of the Captain America, Spider Man, all the other heroes are dead. And it's basically like a Mad Max type of territory where
A
each
bit.
villain has their own territory of the, United States carved up. Like this part of the country is Red Skull land, and this part is, led by, I think, Mysterio and other type of villains there. So that's kind of the setup there, and they take a little bit of inspiration from that about the whole future storyline. about the fact that a lot of the X Men are dead. In this story, they're telling Logan it's not the Wolverine who killed the X Men. I think it's implied that Professor X is the one
Mhm.
who killed the X Men, or if not him, the virus that was
Yeah.
done by the government in this that would they put into I think the corn syrup, the fructose corn. So they put like a virus in there that basically targeted mutants and made them kind of nearly go extinct. Basically, there's barely any mutants
Mhm.
alive anymore in this.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like no natural mutants, but like there's the rise of like product mutants now, like X-23, which we see.
yeah, Laura, yeah, played
Yeah.
by Daphne Keene there, X-23. And so yeah, there's still a few, but it's a very very small kind of amount there that you kind of see. But yeah, and this is set in 2029 is this movie, so we're actually coming close to the actual future of Logan. There, actually, we're coming close there. We already blew past the future of Blade Runner. We're
Yeah.
already in the future of the first original Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Was 2024 there. So
Do you
uh,
do you think when they first made the thing, like Old Man Logan, they were like, oh yeah, well, because I know they put it like somewhat in the future to avoid like questions of like the confusing timeline of the X Men, but like they thought like, oh yeah, there'll be like a worldwide virus that some people don't believe, and like other people are dying, wipes out a good amount of the population.
like they just had that much foresight there
Yeah.
to kind of predict that. Yeah, because this was 3 years. Yeah, this was only 3 years before COVID, so that was like
Mhm.
actually kind of some good foresight there. Actually, funny how that kind of lines up there. But now you see in kind of this kind of extended future here that you still have Logan, of course, and he's taking care of Professor X,
Mhm.
who's now kind of just a doddering old man. Now he's got early signs of kind of I think it's dementia or Alzheimer's there that's affecting his mutant ability. So what if you take the guy who has the most powerful brain in the world and you make him sick? And you see in kind of the movie there, you see the effects of kind of what he does when he kind of has these episodes there, as seen here, which actually is a really great scene.
Yeah.
Where just basically everybody just gets frozen. It's basically what you saw in the first X-Men movie where he can just freeze everybody, and go around, but here it's like, what if he had no
Yeah.
control over
Having
it?
a seizure, basically. Yeah.
And, if people stay in this state for too long, they basically die.
Yeah.
If people and they get really sick and they die there. And this is, yeah, a really good scene. You see Logan who's fighting through it, who's killing all these guys. Really, really great scene there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also a really smart move on this movie, especially because you don't need that much of like the uh, questions beforehand with the timelines that they kept like the events of the previous X-Men movies or like even just X-Men stuff in general pretty ambiguous because superheroes have like they have their own universes and stuff like that. They have their own timelines and stuff. But here it's like, well, maybe some stuff of like the first X-Men movie happened, maybe some sequels happened, but we don't know that much. Maybe like the events of like the maybe X-Men Origins probably happens, but here because there's only it's a bit more grounded than like uh like stuff like the uh uh like James McAvoy X-Men like X-Men First Class or stuff like that where it's just like floating wheelchairs and like time travel and you know like secret espionage like set those and stuff. It's like, yeah, well, maybe like some of that happened, maybe not quite the way it did happen. Like that's like set in the comics and like the public knows some stuff of like the X-Men and like mutants in general. But still like it's ambiguous enough for Logan to like just like stay on his own virtually.
And some other superhero movies. So just to look at some competition it had this year, want to see if you think that this was the best one to come out this year. So this year, also the other superhero movies, Thor Ragnarok came out, Wonder Woman, Guardians 2, Spider Man Homecoming, Justice League, the Lego Batman, Transformers. I guess if you count that one, Transformers: The Last Kingdom, Kingsman: The Golden Circle. I don't know if you count Power Rangers. Power Rangers also came out this year. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, this or Guardians too, but it's probably I think I'd say maybe Logan. Uh,
Mm, yeah. I think it's between this, Logan, and Lego Batman. I mean, Lego Batman's pretty peak. I
yeah,
don't know. Lego Batman's pretty
yeah.
pretty amazing. But it's two different what it's trying to do, two different things, obviously, of
Oh
what
yeah.
those were trying to do there. But Lego Batman's actually a really good deconstruction of actually Batman as a character.
Was Kingsman Golden Circle was that also by the Was that the same director as the first Kingsman movie?
Yeah, Matthew Vaughn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, he did X-Men First Class.
yeah. He did that one. And Kingsman Golden Circle is not that good, but yeah. Yeah. So you had those are the superhero movies you had kind of come out that year. Yeah. So let me give pass to you, man. What are your thoughts on Logan 2017?
I really love it. I think it's one of the best superhero and just comic book movies out there. I think it's just a great movie on its own. Uh, one of the just the benefit of like it being an R-rated just like movie in general doesn't just mean like, oh, we get away with more violence or stuff like that. That is like a benefit of it, especially because like a lot of people are like, when's like Logan actually going to cut someone's face off with his claws? You do get to see that, but with this, we get like slower scenes. We got scenes of like just Logan contemplating. We get like scenes of like characters grappling with their morality a bit more. Just like a lot of slow scenes that probably wouldn't be in like a standard PG-13 superhero movie.
Yeah. You get a scene where the other person who's in Stephen Merchant, who's in
Yeah,
this, who plays in
yeah.
the Caliban, who plays in this, and I'll show a picture of him right here. But you got a scene where he's talking to Logan, and Logan's contemplating suicide. He's contemplating ending his life there. That's kind of a moment there. You get this kind of like this Logan is like he can barely even heal anymore. Really, I mean, if he does heal, it's incredibly slowly. So he's not the strong kind of invincible force where he can just take 50 bullets and just keep on going there. And this is him, right? Stephen Merchant, too. Stephen Merchant, people know he was in the original incarnation of The
The
Office.
Office, yeah.
And he works a lot with Ricky Gervais and does a lot of that.
He didn't
Um,
even want to like. He didn't even want to like act in The Office originally. Like he just wanted to write. He's like, I'm not really an actor, but then he like kind of got pushed into it. I think he's like really. I think he's really great in this movie. As
yeah.
a in his role. And Daphne Keane, like her first role, like in general, first movie role.
I think she had been in other stuff
No, okay,
before, other stuff because she's an actress there. Oh, so she was in a television series called The Refugees. She was in that, and this is her. Yeah, so this is her first feature film debut.
okay.
Was in Logan there. There, she's from Madrid, Spain. There, so and
That's
she do see her speaking Spanish in this movie here. Do you think that she's a kind of a scene stealer here in Logan?
a bit. Like incredible props of her, like both like standing, like the three big leads in this, Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, and Daphne Keane, each get like several scenes where it's just them alone and them contemplating, and I think you really get to see them just like the actor's performance on their own, and just like especially like how well like Daphne Keane's stuff works is like just kind of like a feral child, especially with how much of it she has to like just emote with her eyes to a degree, because she doesn't have as many like speaking lines.
Yeah, because she's mostly silent through most of the movie until this scene right here of them in the car race.
You got me here, but thank you.
De nada.
You can talk. You can talk. Fuck. Well, why the fuck? What's all this bullshit been for the last 2,000 fucking miles?
Que habla contigo que me insultas. Si me gritas,
What?
si me intentas
Shut
dejar
up. Okay, shut up. Shut up. Shut the fuck up!
Jonah, Gideon, Rebecca, Delilah,
Who's that?
Victor.
Who is that?
Jonah, Gideon.
Who is that?
Jonah, Gideon, Rebecca, Delilah, and Victor.
And then we just saw I was playing some clips earlier before the stream, so this was improvised. She asked to, kind of do her own thing here in the scene and kind of play it in. And I think she works really well. I think
Yeah.
Daphne Keane, I mean, she is kind of a show stealer here. I mean, of course, you're coming to see because this is supposed to be, this was supposed to be his last outing. It's like, this is the last swan song for Hugh Jackman playing this character there. Do you think I mean, I know they make fun of this in Deadpool Wolverine. Do you think it is slightly ruined a little bit by Deadpool?
No, I think it still stands. Also, that's just kind of comics in general, but it's also like it's kind of spoiler the first 5 minutes of Logan. They make it not Logan, Deadpool and Wolverine. They make it very clear that Logan is still like that Logan, and like this is just another Hugh Jackman like Wolverine out there. Like it's also like, yeah, there's just like, you're at a point where it's like, yeah, you could just like do a fun movie as opposed to just like a depressing, sad one. Just
Yeah.
and I still think that like that version of like that Wolverine that appears in Wolverine Deadpool works a lot on his own as well, and it does borrow a lot from like the iconography of this one. And yeah, I don't think anything's like ruined by it, but I think it also works with like Deadpool. Like the first like 15 minutes goes like a very like dark comedy route with it.
Mm. Yeah, because as you see in the beginning of Deadpool Wolverine, I mean, they basically dig up the corpse of the Logan from this movie.
Use his body parts as weapons.
I mean, just a F you to all the people because when it first got announced, the Deadpool movie, you did have some people going like, "This is going to ruin Logan, the legacy of Logan. That's going to ruin the kind of the ending of that film." We had the dramatic death scene in that, kind of the emotion here behind that. So I mean, they directly kind of make fun of that here in Deadpool and Wolverine there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And there's also like, I think it was a slight meta quality because Tom from Succession's character, Mr. Paradox, when they're like talking about like how cool and awesome Logan is, they kind of have like the mentality of like the reason why he's like also kind of so important. It does feel like because it has such a big like emotional like well received moment, and they're even like as he's like saying his last lines, like one of the TVA agents are even saying like, so this is how like they're mouthing a lot to what he's saying.
I mean, this was real shit for them.
Oh yeah.
Take your friends and run. They'll keep coming. Yes. You don't have to fight anymore. Go. Don't be what they made you.
Yeah, I mean, you had all the people in the TVA crying at this.
Yeah.
They were getting choked up, So yeah, I thought that was kind of really good. I thought that was kind of a really funny moment there. They kind of had a good meta moment that worked in Deadpool and Wolverine. Do you think Laura coming back? Because this is the Laura in Deadpool is the same Laura.
Kind of, yeah. I think it's kind of a weird relationship thing. I would have liked to be shocked by it if the Deadpool Wolverine movie didn't spoil that from just the trailers alone. But
yeah, I wonder why they did that. I don't know why they put her in the trailer. It would just been good to be surprised by that. I think that would have been good, but I don't know why they did that. Why they put that in the trailer there. But you see the reason why. If people don't know from the comics, I mean, X-23 is from the comics. There, the character Laura there.
Very different from the start. Yeah.
So here in the movie, the reason why she exists, like you said, they've been basically experimenting on children, basically creating mutants there. In this movie, and you even have the person who's doing is the character, the great character Richard Grant, who's doing it, who also was in Loki as well. He played a variant Richard E. Grant there, who plays Dr. Rice there in this. Who people at first, when this first came out, I think they were speculating that he may have been like Mr. Sinister.
I think I think the benefit of like this, it uses like not going too far with like the outlandish of it, of like the character is in the comics as well, but it's almost like I think it benefits a lot more, especially for an X-Men series like this, of like it's more like the evil of like governmental bureaucracy. It's like it's not like he's not like cackling or like yes, we'll get rid of all those filthy mutants. It's more like we could probably find a way to benefit this, like make a profit from it, sell them to the U.S. military.
Yeah, he did, and he's good in the movie. And then one of his main kind of attack dogs is you have Boyd Holbrook, who's the leader of the Reavers, which is also something from the comics. There, much vastly different than what they are here than they are in the comics. And I always really like Boyd Holbrook. I think he's a really great actor there.
He was also in James McAvoy's Indiana Jones movie. He was one of the Nazi goons.
Yeah, he was one of the Nazi. This is him right here. Very interesting kind of voice that he also has here as well.
Laura, honey, you want to stay where you are? You want to see your friends, right?
Commander Mutante!
Land.
You said alive or dead?
Laura! Laura. No.
She kind of have. I mean, he's really good there, and he also was very good in the season. I don't know if you watched Justified. He's very good in Justified
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
maybe we'll
recent.
check that out. But yeah, really, like also the visual effect with his hand as well is like very uh interesting. Just like the way like it's almost like a Terminator exoskeleton with like just the skin peeled off.
Well, that's a good way to describe it. Yeah, that's exactly kind of yeah. It's a really good way to describe it there. But yeah, I mean, he's really good in this. He's the one that's kind of leading the charge because a bunch of some of them escape the facility that they're in, being experimented on. It gets exposed by this woman who's working in the facility. I think she's a nurse. I think that
She-
works there.
yeah, well, she
Or
even I watched this movie not too long ago, and like she said, like they hired a bunch of like immigrant nurses because they thought none of us spoke English. They thought we were all stupid. So like it does kind of seem like a thing. There's probably some shady U.S. government like branch. It's like, yeah, we're just gonna do this thing right now. It's like we'll have all the nurses. We won't have them speak any English, but
yeah, and I guess one of her main responsibilities was like taking care of the kids that were there and helping them. And she kind of is the one that went to Logan with this information about like these kids being held here, the experiments kind of going on them. It's kind of happening, which happens plenty of times in the X-Men
oh, yeah.
comics. You know, the government experiments on mutants and modifies mutants for their own needs.
Good, thank God, no real world government would ever do that in real life.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, any kind of flaw for you in Logan?
Honestly, not really. I will say, man, there might be like some things that like maybe like kind of a nitpicky brain thing. If like you probably could have like solved this with a conversation first and foremost, like because the whole thing is like Logan's main goal is he wants to bring in the beginning he wants to bring Professor X to like the middle of the sea with in the big boat after like raising enough money. Also, like Wolverine just probably could have like stolen the boat. To be honest, he kills like three guys at the start for trying to steal his like tire, but it's like he probably could have stolen a boat. But it's also just like it does feel like there are like moments of like characters who, like the nurse who like could have probably just like sped this plot along with like just like a line of dialogue that they're not saying. Or but then again, it's like it's not a huge issue. That's more of like it's almost like a CinemaSins kind of thing. Like, why don't you just say what you're here for? Like say that or yeah, but also Patrick Stewart's performance in this, like really just of course it's Patrick Stewart, but just another really great just like kind of final run around as like Professor X in the X-Men franchise. It's just like a man who's like had so many like good intentions, but it all just kind of failed, and he just has to like live in isolation now alone. And we get to see like him be a lot more crass and him be a lot more like he's a lot less perfect than he was kind of portrayed in the original like movies or even like the original shows to a degree. Like they pretend more of him as like a flawed human being, and some people are like, "Oh, Professor X is like actually secretly awful." It's like no, it's more complicated than that. It's more like he's more of just a flawed human being who tried to take on like who had like way too idealistic of a idea to try and like make it work, and like with like his psychic powers as well, just kind of like just like adding gas onto the fire essentially.
Mm, yeah. I mean, really, yeah, great performance by him as well. I think some people even talked about wanted him for best supporting.
Yeah. He was honestly he would be up there for me.
I don't know who was exactly nominated for best supporting that year, but I'll take a look. But yeah, a lot of people talking about it. Much praised his performance in this Patrick Stewart, who also has been playing this character for over 20 years now. Some people would say perfect casting. I mean, you look at Charles Xavier in the comics, look at Patrick Stewart. It's like, oh, this
I was saying something like he is a bit older because in the comics he was usually like he was like in his late 20s, I'm pretty sure, and McNeil's actually usually been older, but here it's like Professor X is like almost 100 years old now.
I think he has to be close to pretty much.
Yeah, I mean there was also this appeared at the Berlin Film Festival, and like Patrick Stewart was been open, like he saw like people, and even like I think Hugh Jackman like cried a bit like during like the final scenes of like Logan's death and stuff like that.
So best supporting this year that it won. So this is the 2018 Oscars here. So you had Sam Rockwell, Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. You had William Dafoe, The Florida Project. Woody Harrelson, who was also nominated for 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. Richard Jenkins, Shape of Water, Plumber, all the money in the world.
Was Woody Harrelson for War of Planet of the Apes?
No, this was 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Oh, okay. Sorry, misheard.
Him and Sam Rockwell both nominated for the same movie.
Nice.
They're both very good in that movie. I would say they are both good in it. William Dafoe is very good in the Florida Project. Uh, Richard Jenkins is very good in The Shape of Water. I didn't see all the money in the world. I never saw it.
No.
That's the movie where that meme came from of like because it was originally with Kevin Spacey, right? And he got
Oh
swapped out.
God, yeah. now I remember. Like it's like a jump scare, basically. Oh, yeah. The secondary antagonist in this, who's like kind of like the mini boss. What do you think of like Hugh Jackman Double Face? Because I think it's pretty flawless the effect they do. Because like in this movie, he was shaved up, like in his head, and he had a wig whenever he was doing like the Logan scenes, and like all the X-24 scenes were very like they had a body replacement, but they also replaced his face with Hugh Jackman's face, and I think it looks flawless, quite frankly.
Let's take a look here. You actually see X-24 is the name here, who's basically like the T-1000 version of I guess of him. As you see. And this was really sad too, because like this family had took them in and it was like, hey, yeah, sure. I mean, as they have a meal and they just get fucking massacred. Like that was a shame, but
Kind of like a more effective version of the scene from X-Men Origins where Logan gets taken in by those 2 weird farmers. Just a
Ma and Pa Kent. He gets taken in.
A 40-year-old man being taken in by like a couple that's only like 15 years older than him. Actor wise, in universe wise, he's like 2 decades older than them, probably.
Yeah, and you see that, that's pretty. I mean, the face. If you look at the face, it's pretty good, actually. Yeah, it's actually good work there. What they do.
Well, yeah, that's another benefit of this movie. Is just like it's able to like dive like more into like almost like the horror aspect of it. Of like just when like X-24 appears, it's almost just like this.
And he doesn't even talk at all.
No, like a mutated bear almost. And I am kind of curious if this was like a light nod to like Dakin from the comics, who we haven't really seen yet, or if it's just like more of its own thing because he's Logan's like biological son. So it does kind of seem like it did take like an influence from like a lot of different aspects, but like ultimately I have to praise this movie for like being very much like its own thing of like you can probably watch this movie on its own for the most part.
Let's see. This is Dakin right here.
Yeah, Dakin. I think it means like it's like a pun on like bastard dog or something.
Wow. Why is he dressed like a slutty Street Fighter character?
Oh yeah, it's kind of what he is, but at the same time he releases like pheromones from his body, so sometimes he's like shirtless too.
Okay. What do the pheromones do?
They usually drive people into like more like anger and stuff like that. He usually uses them as like a fight and can like knock people out with it. I think his first appearance was in a Deadpool comic, actually. Deadpool, Wolverine have to team up to kind of stop him.
Okay. And then he's got where his claws. He's got one that's coming out of his coming out of his hands, and then one comes out of his wrist.
Yeah, I think they're bone claws. I don't think he has adamantium or like a type of adamantium like Laura. But yeah. But still, like, I mean, with how much kind of the rise of X-Men stuff as of late with like X-Men the '97 show, Deadpool and Wolverine, and this is getting like more people talk about this again. It does kind of seem like Marvel's going to lean more into like the X-Men side. Like I would love to see like the weirder characters of X-Men kind of like get pushed to the foreground a bit more. I mean, that's kind of what happened to Laura, because it's not like her character was bad at all, no, but like she was a bit more obscure pre 2017.
So you think this movie kind of blew her up?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, they had to change the origin a bit because the origin was like kind of weird, and not like I wouldn't say like a bit fan servicey, but like in her first appearance, she was like she was the clone of Wolverine and stuff like that, but she was also like a prostitute at the side.
Mm.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Did Frank Miller do that or no?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, and now she's kind of the Wolverine in the comics. Yeah, that does kind of like go against like the original arc of it, but it's like at the same time, it's like who cares? But like, yeah, if people like it, they like it. Oh, God, I forgot. Fuck, there was the New Mutants movie.
Yeah. Yeah, but she wasn't in that.
No, she was. Daphne King was in it.
Oh, she was?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I never saw New Mutants. I didn't think she was in
me
it.
neither. I saw one clip of it. I'm like, I'm good. And then I heard the stuff of like sunspots. Like, that's weird, dude.
Oh, okay. I never seen that. All right. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, some people want her to be the mainline Wolverine, like when they do the whole mesh the mutants into the MCU and
MCU.
stuff like. I have heard some people kind of maybe want that. Yeah. I mean, is that what you would want?
Uh, I still like kind of solo adventures with her doing her own thing. I do kind of feel like it might get a bit muddy with because there's just so much stuff with the MCU, but like at the same time, I do think if you do go down this route, like maybe like the Deadpool route was the best one to go for. Like, oh, why are they all together now? It's like, well, Deadpool just like caused some chaos, and like I think it would probably be best if like, oh, they just kind of interact with each other. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure she would be very interesting as like the MCU version of like the main Wolverine. Or I even remember hearing some people say they wanted like the MCU, if they did cast like the MCU Logan, they wanted like a not Inuit, but like indigenous Canadian to play Logan. And I remember that became like very popular because of like Logan's whole backstories that he gets like kidnapped by the government, he gets experimented on, stuff like that.
Have you had any thoughts about who you wanted to play Wolverine after Hugh Jackman?
I think it's just gonna be Hugh Jackman, man.
He's gonna really be doing it till he's 90.
Maybe, but I mean, I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. He's just like one of those like great casting choices, and people are like he's not as short as the original Wolverine. It's like, yeah, but it's like whatever. I remember Daniel Radcliffe said he wanted to play it, and like that'd be interesting because he's like the exact height of comic Wolverine, and like they're both 5'3".
I think that's what some people were speculating. Daniel Radcliffe. I thought that the scene where they go to where he's Patch, I was fully expecting it to be Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
When he turned around.
Yeah. As some people were expecting like Russell Crowe as like a cameo, because I remember they were gonna Russell Crowe was one of the actors they wanted for Wolverine. But also, if you want a hairy, kind of weird looking stocky guy with long hair to play Wolverine, I can probably rearrange my hair too. If you
I was
want
gonna say you kind of got the Wolverine kind of hair kind of
Yeah.
going already. You just need the mutton chops. I
Yeah.
think you just need kind of that kind.
Oh God, I have filthy mutton chops like on a regular basis. I just shaved recently. So MCU, if you're listening, if you want someone to play Wolverine, I'm down for it. I will do one of those weird workouts.
Yeah, because I don't know, what do you call this? Because he's got the beard, but he's got no chin hair, but he's got no mustache. I don't know what you call that.
I don't know. I mean, man, if you look at like any of the old like Wolverine comics, or even just the comics in general, where it's like just look up like Wolverine like hairstyles and stuff like that, like it's so out there. Because sometimes he's got mutton chops, but they're very like thick mutton chops. Sometimes it's like hair, like lot of body hair and stuff like that.
He's kind of got that. He's kind of got like usually the mutton chops, but he's got no hair in his chin and no mustache.
Yeah.
Like it's like that's usually just kind of how it looks there. Okay. I don't know what you call that exactly, but yeah, that's kind of his look there. Yeah, but with Logan, I mean, this was a really great movie. Kind of there, all the way from the beginning to the end there, how they kind of set it up. The performance is really good here. From people like from Patrick Stewart playing Charles Xavier, from Hugh Jackman playing Logan. This was a great swan song for this character. I mean, even though you could say, well, he came back again, but this is a different universe. I know they're having their cake and eating it too by doing that, but you could say this was a really great swan song.
That's how comics work in general, dude. It's like welcome to the superhero comics, man.
Yeah.
Did this come out the same year as like The Last Jedi?
Did it come out the same? No, I think wasn't Last Jedi 2019? Oh no,
2019.
this did come out the same year as Last Jedi. Oh yeah,
Okay. Well, it's kind of has a. I do think it's kind of an interesting kind of comparison thing of like a final, the main hero of your timeline. Like the most recognizable mascot is tired and wants to be left alone and doesn't want to do all this stuff. That's been a trope forever, but it's like it's been more recent with movies as of late. And like they also both have a beard. And I do wonder if like this was better received because it felt less like it felt more like a natural progression as opposed to like just doing it for the sake of subversion.
Mhm. Um, I see because in Star Wars Last Jedi you had Luke Skywalker sacrifice himself, and then you had that, and a lot of it was like, oh, he's retired and he's kind of on his last leg, and what it means to be a hero again. I think maybe it was more receptive because I don't know. I mean, Wolverine. I mean, that's kind of what he usually does. I mean, he
Yeah.
always usually just like fucks off, goes somewhere isolated until somebody drags him out and goes like, "Hey, it's time to be a hero again." And if that's his time, it's like, all right, sure, well, one last time I can do it. Kind of had that kind of thing going. It just so I guess that was different a little bit. The character of who you're doing the character, and I like Last Jedi. I'll still defend Last Jedi. I like Last Jedi quite a bit. It's my third favorite Star Wars movie, so I'll still defend it. Um,
Ooh,
but
excuse me as I write a tweet about you. You
uh,
don't know nothing about Star Wars.
yeah, did you see what happened with the? I'll be like that. High Top Alex. He got like he said he didn't like Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't know if you know him.
I've seen a few of it. I've just not his videos just aren't for me.
Yeah.
What else has happened though?
I guess he got in trouble because he didn't like Deadpool and Wolverine, or he had a lot of criticisms for it, and then people kind of dogpiled him on him.
Yeah, I mean that happens with comics and stuff like that. I do think like there's a more reception of like not being huge on Deadpool Wolverine, but I'm not sure if this is a controversial take. I think this might be my favorite MCU multiverse thing.
Okay.
As someone who's kind of tired of the multiverse and like it might have just been like the right movie for me. It might have been because like I wasn't expecting too much from this movie because I got like some friends were like, "Hey, we're gonna see this. You want to come?" I'm like, yeah, I don't get to see them a ton, so like let's all go out. And I laughed at this movie like a fair amount more than I should have, and not should have, but like yeah, I had a lot of fun with this movie, and I do think there are like flaws with it, mainly the villain. But overall, like I had a really good time, and it does feel like it has its more identity as well. It's like it's a more tongue in cheek with the cameos as opposed to like let's wait for 15 seconds when the cameo appears so we can all clap.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I mean, I think that comparing it to something like No Way Home, which a lot of people seem to be directly comparing it to,
A bit.
I
Or
think
Multiverse of Madness.
yeah. I think No Way Home utilizes cameos better than in Deadpool, just because they spend more time with them, and then those Spider-Man are actually the Spider-Man that we know. Those are from the movie.
That's fair.
We know.
Yeah, I like I think it kind of fits the theme of like the Deadpool of like and that's a benefit like I think Deadpool has as a character, especially as a Ryan Reynolds actor of like he's ugly, he's low status, he like people like openly hate him and don't think highly of him. And like he's because I remember when the announcement of like Deadpool going to like find different like Wolverines, people said, "Oh, it's Prime Wolverine, like the best Wolverine." And in this movie, it's like, "Oh no, this is the worst Wolverine you're pairing up with." like that fits the character as well.
Yeah. So what will be your final thoughts and rating for Logan?
Ah man, Logan is a superhero comic movie that is going to be still remembered from years from now as like one of the best superhero movies out there, with an incredible cast and maybe just a handful of like nitpicky moments that you can really have issue with. But it's a great movie to watch if you're a huge fan of the X-Men, but also if you're just like if you just want like a good movie on its own, like a Western movie, this is a great movie for it. With incredible action, performances, and just like great emotional like climaxes. I would give this like a high peak and maybe a low this is cinema.
Mm. I'm right there with it. I think I'd give it a high peak bordering on This Is Cinema. The execution of this, with the story, with the kind of the characters, with the performances here, the ending of it, what James Mangold was able to do here. I mean, when he got Indiana Jones, I was like, man, do the same thing you did with Logan, you did with Indiana Jones, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I
Granted,
guess he,
at the same time, as Disney Indiana Jones as opposed to like Disney, I mean Fox X-Men. So
yeah,
he probably had more freedom, which is
yeah,
a benefit.
yeah, I guess, and I was thinking, yeah, he probably had a little bit more freedom to do what he kind of wanted to do in this, and this was still like, Disney hadn't bought Fox yet at this point. This was still Fox that was on its own there in 2017. But yeah, I mean, the violence. This is what people wanted, also with the
Oh
violence.
yeah,
I don't know. For me, watching Deadpool and Wolverine, when he's actually doing the slicing, it just doesn't feel the same as
maybe.
like in the Wolverine or
Do you think it's because it's mostly against like Deadpool version characters, where like the violence is a bit like this isn't too like criticize those shows, but like a bit like Rick and Morty or like Hell of a Boss or like American Dad, where like the violence is funny, specifically like the blood is like goofy and stuff like that.
when he was fighting Deadpool in it, I get that it was more for comedic because obviously they both can't die and they can heal, and so I get that it was like almost like a Three Stooges type of thing when they were fighting. But then when he's fighting the whole army of Deadpools, and
Maybe.
then I was like,
I kind of had more issue with the violence by the other characters to a degree, if that makes sense. Like the Cassandra villain, of like kind of like I just did not think her scenes were like really that effective.
you didn't think it was creepy, like the her going
I
inside
think
someone's
it's an
head.
interesting visual, but like I don't know. At the same time, I do kind of wonder if it would have been more effective if she was like she looked like the comic version, where she's like a 60-year-old woman, as
Mm.
opposed to like just a hot lady.
Yeah, that's true. When usually you see in the comic version, she's very much very older looking.
Yeah.
Almost
It's
looks like
been a while since I've read a version comic with Cassandra in it, but I think she might just have telepathy powers in the comics. She has to be very manipulative in the comics. Of course, I get it's going to be different. She's very manipulative and like she's a huge bastard in comics, which is great. But
I don't know. Maybe could have done that.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, I mean, Logan, great
Yeah.
movie, great comic book movie.
great, a lot of fun.
I wouldn't even say just limited to just great comic book. I think it's
Yeah,
great movie. Period. There.
or great dad movie as well. One of those movies that dads will cry to, like lightly at the end.
Especially even I think even dads didn't even have to see them. They just watched the trailer. That Johnny Cash Hurt playing.
Yeah, God.
That was really effective there with it. So
Another great Hugh Jackman performance.
another great Hugh Jackman performance. I don't know if we'll see him play Wolverine again. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's going to show up. It's like, well, maybe one last time. I'll do it maybe again. It depends on how big the check is. Maybe.
Maybe.
Uh,
But at the same time, it doesn't seem like the inspiration behind Deadpool Wolverine was more like, let's have fun. Like, let's do an actual thing. Like, it didn't just seem like if it was like literally like Deadpool bringing Logan back to life, I think that would have ruined it. Like this Logan back to life, I think that will have ruined it. But it's like no, it's a different guy. It's a different Hugh Jackman. It's a different like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. I feel so bad because I remember like after Logan came out, so I made like a fan YouTube video of like Deadpool trying to bring back Logan back to life, and like he has that formula. He's like, "I'm going to bring you back to life, buddy," but then he's like, he decides not to. And I just think of like, man, imagine trying to search for that video now, even like just with like Deadpool 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine, just like that video is like gone from the internet, man.
So two pretty much peaks bordering on cinema there for Logan. Yeah, this was very impressive.
Yeah.
Hopefully James Mangold can bounce back from after Indiana Jones and what was that called? The
Dial of Destiny.
Dial of Destiny.
I thought it was fine, but like maybe the weakest Indiana Jones movie, which is kind of a mean thing to say, but like I think Harrison Ford gave a really good performance in that movie. I just wasn't really there for the most of the story or like the female character who's like the successor. But it was cute. Which is kind of dismissive on my part, but
he's doing the Bob Dylan movie coming out.
That's interesting.
They did the trailer. Have you seen the trailer?
No, I have not. But yeah, I'll make sure to check it out. But
I don't know. I mean, let's see. I mean, biopics.
Yeah, they're really popular.
Didn't he do? Oh yeah, he did do Walk the Line. He did do Walk the Line.
Mm,
Yeah. I forgot about that. That's the one that yeah, all other biopics would kind of be based off of for the next 10 years.
yeah.
That Dewey
I can't-
Cox
What was
make
that?
fun.
I can't remember. Did he do Ford versus Ferrari? Ford v Ferrari, whatever it was
Yes.
called.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
yeah. I thought that was pretty good. I
love
think I
that
liked
one.
that more than most people. But yeah, because when friend group kind of dismissed that because I think they were like, I think that's fair, but like they were getting a bit sick of biopics at the time.
Yeah. I like Ford v Ferrari. A
Yeah,
lot. I thought
nice.
that was really good.
Yeah,
Let's
but
head out of here. Thank you again,
Yeah.
Mike, for joining me, man. Much appreciated.